Hi everyone, welcome to this video, and in this video we're going to do the factoring of general trinomial in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot be equal to 1 using the xbox method. Xbox method happen or like a method where you can factor a trinomial where a cannot be equal to 1, so it could be greater than 1 or less than 1. So how do we do that? So first thing, if we have an example here, 10x squared plus 7x minus 12, you want to factor it out. Now, first thing to do is that check if there is a common factor. If there is no common factor, check if it's a perfect square trinomial. So if the two answer, if from the two checking is if there is no common factor, and then if it's not perfect square trinomial, you can now start doing your Xbox method. Now, how to do the Xbox method? First thing to do is to create now your X. Okay, so in using now the Xbox method, first thing to do is that you put in the upper area where you multiply now the first term, which is 10x squared, times the last term, which is negative 12, right? So the answer is negative 120x squared. After that, you get now the middle term, and the middle term of that trinomial is 7x. Now, let's think now this one. So in your brain, so you need to think about the factor of negative 120x squared, where the sum is the middle term, which is 7x. So let's do the trial and error. So if I have negative 120x squared, so in this case, the product is negative, so one should be positive and another would be negative. What identifier which one should be greater is depending on the middle term. If the middle term is positive, the greater number or greater absolute value should be positive. So in this case, like for this example, I have now 12x times negative 10x. I'm sure now that the greater absolute value is 12 comparing to negative 10. However, when you add 12x and negative 10x, the answer is 2x. So this is not the factor that we are seeing. Now let's go on the other one. I think I could put now 15x times 8x times negative 8x. Now, once again, the positive one is greater than the negative. And when you add now 15x and 8x, the answer is 7x. So this is the thing that we need to have. So when you have that, you can now put now 15x here and then negative 8x here. So we're done with our x. Now, let's go with our box. The box is a 2x2 square. So this is now a 2x2. So we have now the upper left, upper right, lower left. Now, in the upper left, we can now put now our first term. So we put our first term there, which is 10x squared. So you put now your first term, and then you put your last term here, which is negative 12. Now, any side could work out. However, I put now my first factor here of what we did in your x, which is 15x, and then I put now negative 8x here. So after having down the 2x2, you can now create you can now factor it by side. So factor all the terms here by common factoring. So what is common between 10x squared and 15x would be, the answer would be 5x. And then I could factor this one. What's common between negative 8x and negative 12? I think that is negative 4. Now, working with that here, I'm going to use another color pen so that we have now a direction. So, going down, oops. What's common between these two? I think that is 2x. And then going down here as well. Oops. I don't want to be disorganized. So here, 15x and negative 12. I think their common factor is 3. Okay. Now, After having that, we can now rewrite this one as a factor of 10x squared plus 7x minus 12. First thing, I'm going to write this. So I have here 5x minus 4. And then I'm going to write this one. I have now 2x plus 3. You need to do now the OI checking. When we say OI checking, you check now the confirmatory of the x. So, you multiply now the outer and the inner. So, negative 4 times 2x, that will be negative 8x, which is a confirmatory of this one. And then, you multiply this one, 5x and 3. Actually, it should be on the reverse. You should start there. So, that would be 15x. So, it's a confirmatory of this one. Then, when you add this two, 8x, that would be 7x. And that is now a confirmatory of the middle term. So, therefore, you can now answer that the factor of 10x squared plus 7x minus 12 is 5x minus 4 multiplied to 2x plus 3. So that is now the factor using now the Xbox method. Okay, let's have another example. Okay, let's have this. We have now 20x squared plus 2x minus 6. Now, looking now this expression, there is a common factor, which is the common factor is 2. Am I right? So, divide 20x squared divided by 2, that would be 10x squared. Plus 2x divided by 2 will be x because you divide that. And then negative 6 divided by 2 will be negative 3. Now, you have now this as a partial factor. We can use now this one. If you were going to check that, 10x squared plus x minus 3, it's not a PST. So therefore, we remove now the common factor. And then we have now 10x squared plus x minus 3. You can now start now using now the Xbox method. Oops. Okay. So, multiplying now 10x squared times negative 3. So, I have now negative 30x squared. And then the middle term is x. So, once again, I'm going to get a factor of negative 30x squared where the sum is x. So, let's have this. So, let's see if that will be correct. So, once again, I have now 30x squared. In this case, once again, the middle term is positive. So, the higher number should be an absolute value. So, I could have now 6x times negative 5x. When you add that, that is x. So, I think that would be. On a confirmatory, we have now 6x here. And then negative 5x. I think we're good. Now, let's look at now our box. Once again, a 2 by 2. Okay. Now, working with that, we have now negative 30x squared. 10x squared because we're using this trinomial. And then we have now negative 3 here. So, putting now 6x and then negative 5x. Now, doing now the factoring. Let me use this one. So, I think we can get 2x here. And then I think what's common to them is negative 1. Now, going down, that will be 5x, I believe. Then going down here, I have now 3. So, once again, we need to write now our factor as an OI. So, first one, you write this one. You have now 2x minus 1. And then this one, we have 5x plus 3. OI checking. So 2x and then 3, that will be 6x. Negative 1 and 5, that will be negative 5x. When you add the 2, you have now x. So confirmatory, check, check, and then x. So therefore, once again, you go back to your problem. You have now 20x squared plus 2x minus 6 would be equal to, again, the common factor 2. And then you write now the factors using the Xbox method, which is 2x minus 1 times 5x plus 3. And these are the factors of 20x squared plus 2x minus 6. I hope you learned something with this video. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.